Hello, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Navy News Update. It's Friday, April 18th, and many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryTV.com. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Native American college students whose tribes have historic ties to Colorado would get in-state tuition at any public college under a bill the House passed April 15th. Although most representatives applauded the idea, it faced opposition concerning its costs. It passed 39 to 25 with Democrats and 2 Republicans in favor. The bill still has to pass the Senate. Fort Lewis College already allows free tuition to any member of a Native American tribe, and the policy will not change even if the bill passes. The bill was introduced in January, but it waited for a vote until now while legislators figured out whether they had the money to fund it. The estimated cost of $5.3 million a year for out-of-state students at the University of Colorado Boulder, passage of the bill would mean a yearly tuition discount of nearly $20,000 off the $32,300 bill for out-of-state tuition and fees. The bill would apply to 48 federally recognized tribes. Most residents of the Ute Mountain and Southern Ute reservations would not be affected because they already qualify for in-state tuition. The Houston Independent School District has unveiled new mascots for 4 schools following a recent ban on culturally insensitive names. The changes are expected to cost $250,000 or more. The Hamilton Middle School campus, who were known as the Indians, has adopted the Huskies as its symbol, as have the Westbury High School Rebels. The Lamar High Redskins become the Texans, and the Welch Middle School Warriors are the Wolfpack. The mascot changes, which could cost taxpayers an estimated $250,000 to replace logos and uniforms, thrust the nation's 7th largest school district into an ongoing debate between tradition and treatment of Native Americans. From high schools to colleges, teams have ditched long-standing symbols over the last several decades. Yet professional teams like the Washington Redskins and Cleveland Indians remain steadfast in the wake of concerns expressed by fans, Native American tribes, and more recently, President Barack Obama. Houston Independent School District Superintendent Terry Greer, who won school board approval for the stricter mascot policy in December, said the expense to make changes was worth it. The Oneida Nation in New York and the national Change the Mascot campaign it leads praised leading Native American groups for withdrawing themselves from an event that included the Washington NFL team's Original Americans Foundation. When it was revealed that the foundation had become the title sponsor for a charity golf tournament in Arizona, major Native American organizations immediately canceled their support to avoid being associated with the group. The Notabegay III Foundation, a respected charitable organization started by the Native American 4-time PGA Tour winner, is a long-standing critic of the D.C. team's name. Begay has termed Washington's continued use of the slur a very clear example of institutionalized degradation. As a result, they immediately backed out of the golf event when the Washington team's involvement was revealed. Another group that pulled its sponsorship after learning that the Redskins Foundation was involved was the National Indian Gaming Association. Chairman of that organization, Ernie Stevens Jr., said his organization finds the R-word name offensive and questions the motives of the foundation, recently started by Redskins owner Dan Snyder. Native American musician Jana Mashoni has released an official statement this week, removing herself from performing at the Karl May Festival in Germany that will occur May 30th through June 1st. In her words, she says, quote, "In quiet protest to the recent actions of the Karl May Museum and its culturally insensitive management of Native American artifacts at the museum, I have just become aware of the museum's refusal to remove specific Native American human remains from their storage and repatriate them to the proper tribes in the United States. Frankly, I find this treatment of our people unacceptable," unquote. Jana feels it inappropriate for her to participate. She does not want to be associated with an institution that does not respect and give dignity to the very group of people they are supposed to be honoring. Currently, the Karl May Museum has 1 scalp on display and an unknown number in storage. Despite a continued effort from the tribes in the United States requesting them to be repatriated, the museum refuses to honor those wishes and still has them on display. The WNBA Atlanta Dream selected University of Louisville guard Shoni Schemmel in the first round with a number 8 overall pick in the 2014 WNBA draft presented by State Farm on April 14th. With her first-round selection, Shoney, who is from the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla, becomes the third Native American woman to be drafted in the WNBA. Other Native American women drafted previously include Tani Robinson, who is Northern Cheyenne, and Angel Goodrich, a Cherokee who currently plays for the WNBA's Tulsa Shock. While Shoney's heading to Atlanta to play for the Dream, the Schemmel legacy at U of L will continue with her sister Jude, who will be a senior next season for the Louisville Cardinals. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me and have a grand day.